Good evening. Come to order, please. This is the September, come to order, please. This is September 23rd, 2013 Rhinebeck Town Board meeting. And we'll begin with a pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you learn how to do that?
Kids.
We have for announcements a couple things. Town Hall will be closed Monday, October 14th in observance of Columbus Day, and the next town board meeting will be held on Tuesday, the 15th. Also on October 5th, not necessarily in order, there'll be a household hazardous waste and electronic waste disposal day. That'll be at the Highway Garage. That is October 5th, Saturday. And time it is, Kathy?
Yes, it starts at 8, but you have to register, pre-register with the Dutchess County Department of Resource Recovery, and the phone number to call them is 463-6020.
463-6020 to register for that.
It's $5. You have to pre-register, and they'll assign you a slot to the
$5 per car.
per car.
It's great.
A limited amount of waste that you want to dispose of.
Right, that includes computers, TVs, and stuff like that, so.
Toxic waste, garden supplies, paint. It's good.
Another announcement is we need volunteers for the dog park.
Yes, we're working on the dog park finally. We put in about an acre's worth of posts and we're hanging the fence, but we need people out there. We're going to be there from 10 to 2 on Saturday and Sundays until we get it done. So if you feel like working, come on out. It's up at Stone Church.
Okay, great. Anybody else?
Let me just mention our workforce housing program, since it's a very large audience tonight. Hopefully, everyone here is aware that the town has gotten $360,000 from the Gardens developer to, in effect, buy down the purchase price. If anyone qualifies, and that is people who have ties to Rhinebeck, ties to Dutchess County, or anyone is interested in a condominium at the Gardens, and as I say, qualifies, which means an income less than 100% of the average median income in Dutchess County, there are available condominiums under this program. I think, John, they probably can see you, and you can refer them to Hudson River Housing, which is the town's designee for this program.
Okay. Just one last thing is that we have, this year, unlike the previous years, if you have basic star benefits, you'll have to register each year with the state. So, and that's due by the end of the year, so you probably got something in the mail, but you need to register for that every year. It's not something anymore that's going to be kind of rolled over, so remember that. It could be a huge loss for your kid.
It's really easy. You can just do it online.
Right. Anybody else for announcements? To move on, we have approval for the prior minutes from September 9th, 2013. A motion and a second to approve the minutes.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. We have a presentation tonight. It's from our grant writer, Victor Cornelius from Endeavor. It's in relation to some federal funding available, I think.
I'll try and make this short and sweet because I know you have a long meeting. I've been working very heavily with congressional offices in the last 4 to 6 months who contacted me in early June saying the Superstorm Sandy appropriation has come down. Bring in every project you've got. The appropriation, which was passed by Congress on January 31st, the money is in hand. It belongs to fiscal 2012-13. Is $35 billion for New York State with a $7.4 billion appropriation to the Hudson Valley for infrastructure improvement projects. Initially, it was to deal with issues that were raised by Superstorm Sandy in the mad dash to spend the money, because this Congress did vote the large appropriation but stipulated, I think the argument was, we're still paying for Katrina 8 years after the event, so you have 2 years to commit the funds or you lose them. And the governor's office was notified, and I think he's pretty much using this appropriation as a jobs program, given the energy and the tenor behind its disbursement. So I have had a really interesting last few months, enormous amount of infrastructure projects going in. FEMA had the first round. I submitted letters of intent for 9 municipalities on the 1st of August, or for 11. 9 of them had requests for formal applications, which are due at the end of October. The one that raised my interest, actually, as far as Rhinebeck was concerned, was the one I'm doing for the town of Cornwall, where they have a 60-year-old water treatment facility at the end of their 19th century wastewater collection system, which is 20 feet from the Hudson River and was repeatedly flooded in various storm events. The question to the congressional and gubernatorial offices we have a $17.5 million fix to a plant that is landlocked 20 feet from the Hudson River and doesn't have any additional room for capacity improvements or new technologies. Or we can request $52 million to build an entirely new plant off the Hudson River floodplain. And the response from FEMA was, we'd rather have the $52 million investment so that we don't have to come back 5 years from now and spend $100 million in cleanup. This then begged the question of the largesse of the funds. Within a short period of time, the funds were extended to include issues that had been raised by Hurricane Irene and Lee, and then subsequently, because FEMA was having trouble getting enough proposals in by its original deadline in July, the governor's office extended the deadline to August and began to include Mohawk Valley communities. They're having trouble spending this money. And the interesting piece about 4 weeks ago was that they're having trouble spending it in New York City, which is not part of the $7.4 billion pot. They moved Westchester County out of the Hudson Valley pool and into the New York City pool, which means essentially more for us. So with that in mind, and with the continuing reach I've got in both Albany and Washington, and the work I'm doing at organizing town and village boards up and down the valley to be able to meet this once-in-a-generation flow from Washington, I would like to open the conversation for proceeding with the discussion of asking the federal government to fund a wastewater and stormwater management system for the hamlet of Rhinecliff, which is a priority, I know, for the town. I know it's a priority for the DEC, and I think it's not a terribly difficult sell as far as Congressman Gibson's office and Washington is concerned. There is the HUD disaster relief portion of this funding, which opens its process on October 1st. The letters of intent need to be received by HUD online by December 1st. It would require an executive summary, and the congressional offices have said, take your best shot at an engineering budget and mark it up 30% and put it in. And it's 100% grant. Yes?
Soft costs included.
Soft costs included. However, costs prior to the award will not be funded through HUD. So it would behoove us to do a Clean Water State Revolving Fund application for the project as well, so that costs prior to a grant award could be carried over
Like
in
an
a long-term
engineering
loan.
study.
Exactly. And my costs.
your costs would be on contingency as before?
No, I can't afford to do that anymore. I've had to take on staff.
So would you not do it if you couldn't do it on contingency?
Yes, I would not do it if I could not do it on contingency. I can't afford to do that anymore.
You made it sound like you're shooting fish in a barrel.
No, actually,
Why not continue with the arrangement we've had in the past, which I thought had been successful?
yes, except that at this point, as I said, I have to take on staff. I've had to take on staff. I have people working for me now. I have payroll to meet. And contingency contracts don't necessarily always meet payroll. I have other people to think of than myself at this point. Plus, this is what I'm being offered. I have had a 70% increase in my workload in the last 4 months. And I would just hate to see, knowing this community as well as I know it, and I think I have a pretty good track record here. I think I've cost the town about 5% of what I've actually brought in over the last several years in terms of grant support. So I'm pretty confident about my ability to deliver.
Victor, could you clarify what deadlines we're looking at?
The HUD DR, which is one of about 6 programs that's going to encompass this money, which is coming down as a community development block grant through the Office of Community Renewal in Albany. It will not be coming through the county the way you normally get your community development block grant funding. The letter of intent process opens October 1st, and it needs to be submitted online by December 1st with an early spring. Actually, they'll take about a month to review them, then they'll come back and ask for applications. It's going to be very similar to the FEMA hazard mitigation process, which we've just gone through.
You'll give us a written proposal?
Absolutely.
And do you have any idea if we chose to go with you not on contingency, what that cost would be?
My rates are $7,500 a quarter, and they are reimbursable through EFC loans and may indeed be reimbursable through HUD after the award date.
And we're looking at 3 to 4 quarters.
Yes, with a 30-day release clause should there be any concern about how the process is going.
I checked on the engineering. We talked about that. There was some engineering. It's about 20 years out of date.
Mm-hmm.
It was done. I haven't gotten my hands on it yet, but I know it's around, so.
Didn't this come up when we were talking about it a year and a half ago?
Yeah, but this was actual engineering studies that were done, so they're around. We have that.
Well, my understanding is, and it's a very preliminary understanding, is that the stormwater management issues and the lack of a formal wastewater system is both an environmental hazard and a concern to the property owners in Rhinecliff, and it certainly impacts the value of the houses down there, the residences, and the ability of businesses to grow. So I would, ask that you consider this. Good. And if you need any additional resume information, I'm hitting balls out of the court at the moment, so I can get you some more references. Thanks.
Thank you.
Great, thanks.
Wait a minute, what game are you playing?
What?
I'm just trying to, never mind.
Bruce, is the engineering study the one that was done by the Board of Health and the?
No, this was back with one of the developers. There was, and they had to do it for the town. It's a couple decades old.
Remember
Okay.
when I think we have our town engineer here. Maybe you would like to speak to this, what we were doing a year and a half ago with the 3 bids?
Well, we can't, this won't pertain to anything prior, we can't do anything prior to this, right? That won't be pertaining to this grant.
No, not for purposes of this particular grant. If you were doing an EFC application to match it, or not to match it, to shadow it in a way to pick up any expenditures that might not be eligible under HUD or FEMA or some of the EPA sources that are being developed right now for the disbursement of this money. Each federal agency and each state agency is grabbing onto the piece of this so they can build up their bureaucracies.
But engineering has to take place now,
Yeah,
not prior to
I would
now.
say- I would
Or
say-
you're talking about prior to Sandy?
No. It's engineering that it doesn't have to be prior to Sandy. You can reimburse going back fairly far, actually.
Well,
if
this,
you've got a
I mean,
dollar
engineering that was done in the past by our engineer can pertain to this then?
I would say that it's a good starting place, and if you've got a dollar figure pertinent to it, let's put it in.
Yeah, we have some history with it. So Kathy was involved, right, with the Rhinecliff? Yeah, you want to talk about this, or?
Yeah, just for,
I just want to make sure,
your various references have been made, so just some of what you raised, Elizabeth, and you raised, Tom, just the background is we had looked at some potential drainage improvements to try and mitigate some of the flooding damage that happens in Rhinecliff. And it was about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, the town put out an RFP for some engineering, and we did have responses from at least 3 engineers that we were looking at, all had different dollar figures and scopes of work. We do have copies of all those RFPs. Town decided, at that point, not to move ahead right then, because it was just, we didn't know where the funding was going to come from. The engineering studies each had a dollar amount, and that was just for the first phase of the studies, and we didn't know where we would be able to move to. It sounds like what Victor is saying now is there's an opportunity to not only get the engineering done to be shovel-ready, so to speak, but also to be able to then move ahead to completion and actually contract real engineering services. The Highway Department has done what work it can down in Rhinecliff specifically to try and catch points that we know, wherever we know we can catch water and direct it and have an outsource, because it's not about just catching the water. It's about where do you put it once you have it. That's really what the challenge is in Rhinecliff. We've done some work. In fact, we did some work along Grinnell Street. I know Sue is here. We did 2 catch basins by her house, and we actually have a plan this year as well, where we're going to do a super elevation up on Tewksbury to try and capture some more of that water coming off down the hill, potentially toward Kelly Street. So we're doing what we can, but we've always been stymied, and we've brought this to the board before without some engineering that can go out, and Tom has been great and helpful and every step of the way and with us, and it's been wonderful to work with him. But I think you would agree with me on this. We need the study that's going to say, okay, here's what needs to be done, because we're talking about replacement lines. We're talking about a plan that has to come up when basically septic tanks and sewage, if they're affected by work that's done on the water lines down there that carry the storm water, there is unfortunately a relationship between those two things, and we need the engineering to be able to solve that problem. It's been somewhat of a stumbling block. So I think if there's a way to go forward, I certainly would ask the board, I've always asked the board to please consider anything you can to move us in the direction of being able to have a plan that we can implement to improve drainage down there. So, thank you. If you have any questions on the engineering that we had.
We have it all. We were
Yeah.
the ones we contracted 3
Right.
firms. We
And I've
had
got copies.
a round of presentations. We've got them, they're here. I
Right.
have them, we've reviewed them before this, speaking to Victor about this. It was really, I think the bids were between $25,000 and almost $40,000, and I think we had even identified one we liked the best. The issue was funding that and then funding the changes that had to be made within the hamlet. But this is the perfect answer to it. So
Right, one was like 53,000, another was, 68,600. They're all various numbers in here. So, I know you want to speak again, but Tom, was there anything you wanted to add? Did I leave anything out that you'd like to?
Not really.
All right.
Could say anything.
all right.
Victor,
right,
just one thing, I just want to be sure, we're talking about wastewater and stormwater, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The description of the inflow problem into septic is major points on a HUD
Let's
application.
make it part of the
Okay.
I think this, what you need is to attack your stormwater separation issues in the context of new wastewater lines and an improved stormwater drainage system.
From your experience, are communities that are going into this or have gone into this, have they formed special districts, or what are they doing?
It depends on the municipality. If there is a special benefit district associated with it, absolutely. But that's also has to do with, actually that has to do with more with operations and maintenance than it does with with the borrowing or with the financing of it.
But, yeah, but that's part of the concern we've run into is what it's going to cost down the road.
Right. I think what you need to focus on in the course of your engineering is an operations and maintenance plan with an associated cost.
Okay.
So you would know what kind of a rate structure to implement if you needed to do that.
Thank you.
We had a time risk here of not, how soon you need to vote on this to move forward?
No, I'll get you a proposal tomorrow, and your next board meeting is adequate, I'm sure, if that fits on your agenda.
Yeah.
Mine's December 1st.
What's that? Okay, yeah. I
Right.
didn't know if you needed something sooner than,
No. I need a serious discussion with an engineering firm and a bulleted list to assemble sort of an initial executive summary of the problem in a dollar figure.
all right, great.
All right.
So
Thanks,
you're
Victor.
going to come back to us with a proposal with a timeline?
Yes, if you'd like.
The proposal would also have budget in there. You said you needed some conversations with other people.
There is a box for $1 figure.
Okay.
And it's not a broken out budget. It is, they want to know what you're requesting and
No, I'm asking for budget for you.
oh, for me?
Yeah.
Well, that'll be in my contract.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
So we have a liaison report. Anybody have anything to report from their committees, departments? I will, just for your information, I will deliver to the town clerk a tentative budget in the next couple of days. I want to firm up some numbers from the bookkeeper, and I'll deliver it to the clerk, and in return, so that we don't have to wait till the next meeting, we'll have a special meeting so that he can deliver it to the town board. We do need a official town board meeting to do that, so we'll have a special meeting if you guys want to meet by the end of the week sometime at 4 or 5 o'clock, just to be presented from the clerk. And I would suggest 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock Thursday or Friday. We need a couple days to make announcements through the papers too, so.
This week?
Sure. Or next week either.
Well, let's maybe this Thursday, if it's ready, the 26th.
I can do that.
I gather this is a very short meeting. You're just going to hand over a document to us,
John will, right.
or John will.
Yeah, okay. So Thursday, the 24th? I'm sorry, no, wait.
And what time?
Thursday, the 26th, what's good for you, 5? 5 o'clock?
Well, do we have to keep John on extra? If it's just John giving it to us, maybe we ought to do it before 4,
Okay.
so we don't have to.
Or, I don't, whatever you want, okay. So a motion and second to have a special meeting to receive the tentative budget for 2014 from the town clerk on September 26th at 4 PM.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
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 So moved. And we need to notify the paper tomorrow morning, so, okay. All right, so no other liaison reports. We'll move on to business. So business items are the resolution for approving abstract 9B vouchers V 897 through V 958, 41 checks for $46,540.87. Motion and second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Resolution approving the preliminary capital project for 2013 abstract. And that is your tab number 2, which is 4 checks for the amount of $1,832.14.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Approved. Item 3 is the resolution for the budget transfers and amendments. Motion and second.
Motion.
Let me just explain what the $7,500 is, because that's the big one.
Do you have a motion? Anybody
I-
second that yet?
No.
I'll second that. And then on to discussion.
Yeah, I asked Shelley to propose this. I want to keep track of how much we spend on the proposal for amending the zoning law to actually add an affordable housing section. So this will just allow us to keep track of costs, and we're taking the money from comp plan litigation expense, which doesn't appear at this point to have a need for the budget money.
Is the amount the same, Joe?
No, it's not the same. I wanted to keep it down to 7,500.
But that's only for affordable housing?
Yeah, I want to keep track of that particular
Okay.
project. If somebody has another project, we ought to keep track of it so we know how much we're paying for particular projects.
I don't think it's a bad idea. I think it's a good idea. I just wanted to make sure that
Yeah.
it was only for that. Okay.
Okay. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item 4 is a resolution approving the facility use application for Hudson River Housing.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? That's so moved. Item 5 is a resolution for SECRA statement of consistency for the Thompson-Mazzarella Park.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'd like Michael to introduce this if possible.
Good evening. At our last meeting, we had the joint Village Town Planning Board public hearing on the park last Tuesday, and the action we took at that meeting was to determine that the proposal for the Phase 1 implementation was indeed consistent with the neg deck that you adopted for the master plan back in 2009. And that is what we're bringing to you tonight, just for you as lead agency to affirm that indeed that it is consistent with that. And I know a couple of questions have come up in the interim. One has to do with the master plan and the easement that the county and Winnicke Land Trust hold on the park. What I have here is for every time we have any proposal for a land use development, such as the master plan for the park, implementation of Phase 1, we have to refer it to county planning for their comment, for them to say whether or not they have any questions, issues, or anything like that. We have the documentation here. I'll give it to John. In each case, they have said it's a matter of local concern. They have no concern. As far as they're concerned, the easement holders have signed off on the master plan. So that is not an issue with the easement holders, and they're the only ones who can enforce the easement. The second question, someone was saying that if you adopt this consistency review, somehow the master plan is then set in stone. The master plan is like the comp plan, the zoning law. As the legislative body, you can amend it if you choose to. You have to go through a review process, but it's not set in stone. It's what you basically have agreed that you want to see go forward. We're going forward with Phase 1, hopefully. But if the needs change, things like that, the town board has the authority to go back and amend the master plan and implementation procedures to put in other types of facilities if that's what you choose to do. I mean, you're a legislative body. What you do, you can undo. But it's not written in stone. Questions?
Have we in fact amended it since it was implemented?
To my knowledge, the amendments such as the actual master plan, no. There were many discussions in terms of when we found the archaeology. We had to move things around. You wanted to move around some of the basketball fields, the skate park, things of that sort. There was going to be a dog park there. The dog park has moved to Stone Church. So a lot of discussion went on and ahead of time. When you then adopted the master plan, you did that in 2009. That you have not amended. You have amended with the concurrence of Winnicke and the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development, the easement itself, which, once again, if the parties that work on that easement, both you as the grantor and those as the people who control the easement, choose to amend it, you can do that if you all come to agreement on that. So all this stuff, basically, it's not, once you do it, you can't go back and change it if you feel needs change or the desire of the community changes. But at some point, you do have to decide if you want to go forward with the project.
Thank you.
Michael, I'm generally in favor of the resolution. I've gone back, I've looked at the videotapes, I've looked at the master plan. I do think we need some legal advice on this. And I do have some question on the wording. I think in paragraph 2, at the end of it, something is screwed up. It's you ought to have Art Broad look at the language, but there's some problem, I believe.
What does it say?
Well, it says, we concur, we find that the proposed development to be consistent and to involve neither modification of the location and extent of the improvements nor to be improvements subject to either new or modified regulations. So I don't know what it means talking about improvements twice. So I think that wording ought to be looked at.
All right, if you want to, run it by Warren, that's fine. We've
And-
scheduled the continuation of the public hearing for October 22nd.
Sure, and I
so-
think we should do it at the next meeting. I think this one is really Art Broad's language, and maybe he ought to look at that language, but I do think we ought to.
That's fine, as long as you do it by the 22nd, so we don't have to continue the public hearing again, because that's what we would have to do.
And I guess the other question I have, paragraph 3 says, in consideration of the above concurrence and upon further findings by the town board determines. What findings are we making? What is that reference to upon further findings by the town board?
Basically, you're taking the recommendation of the planning board that indeed it is consistent, because you assigned us the task of going through the EAF and determining whether or not this was consistent. So basically, that's the recommendation of the town planning board to the town board, doing that for you.
Oh, okay, so we can talk to Warren as to
You can
whether
talk
we
to
want
Warren.
more specific
And if you don't-
language,
if you
tying
feel
down what the findings
If you're not
are.
comfortable with that recommendation, then of course you're fully entitled to, do further research and review.
No, I understand that, and as I said, I'm generally sympathetic with it. I have reviewed the whole record, and I think the recommendation is consistent with it.
Just as long as you do it before the 22nd of October,
All right,
for our
so-
sake.
So we'll hold over the item?
Yeah.
Okay.
We hold over and we'll talk to our attorney.
But we should be able to act on that by the 15th, the meeting on the 15th? That's right, Joe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bruce, will you send it to Warren?
Let Joe do it.
All right, item 6 is a...
Now, is Warren the
sorry.
appropriate person or John Lyons? I don't know.
Warren,
Warren?
Why?
he's our town attorney, and we already have John's opinion.
He's
But
the-
is it a
he's the one we
zoning?
go to for the planning, zoning.
All right, so Linda Murray had asked to be on the agenda for this item, and I offered an opportunity to do it during this resolution, so I'm going to let her speak up.
Thank
pertaining
you
to
for
this
your
item.
indulgence, and thank you, Mr. Gill, for reading that resolution so closely. I'm here about the resolution, and I'm glad to hear that you're going to seek legal advice on it. The seeker statement that Phase 1 of the TMP is consistent with the master plan, therefore no environmental review is required under, therefore no further environmental review is required under seeker. And I believe that if you have read all of the documents relevant to this resolution, that you could only vote no on this resolution. It seems like it might be a seeker night, because I understand that there's other people here on seeker for a different matter. But seeker requires you to take a hard look at the environmental impacts of the application before finding a neg deck or a pos deck, as the lingo goes. As lead agency, seeker requires you to balance the economic, social, and environmental considerations. And for the following reasons, I think you would have to vote no on this resolution. Even if we change even if you tweak the language. And that's because the seeker neg deck that you voted on, and I'm not saying this particular board, but the board in 2009, was supported by a notice of determination of non-significance. And I don't know if the board has copies of that, or I'm sure you do, but I have copies if you need extra ones. And it's dated June 8th, and I made extra copies.
Here, just I'll give them to the clerk, and we'll put them in the mailboxes, Linda.
Just want to make sure you only gave me 5 and not my copy.
You know what, I'll give you an extra one.
And that document is the notice of determination of non-significance. And Not to sound rudimentary, but before you reach that determination, before the town board reached that determination, it had to go through an expanded environmental assessment form in order that it followed the State Environmental Quality Review Act. And that's because this project happens to be a type 1 action that requires the expanded long-form questions to be answered on this project, in part because it touches an historic district, it also touches archaeology. But my approach on this really has to do with the recreation aspect that was talked about a lot throughout the expanded EAF. And a lot in the EAF that made you come to the determination that this would be a neg deck talked about the fact that Rhinebeck falls, quote, at a low range of acceptable national standards for recreation space. Rhinebeck has 21 acres of recreation per thousand, and the National Rec and Park Association recommends 21.25 to 30.5 acres per thousand. The rec park has 84 acres, and only 5.4 acres are devoted to active recreation. Red Hook has their rec park before their boards, and they're proposing 4 recreation fields on 22 acres. My concern with this resolution is that nothing proposed in Phase 1 includes construction or infrastructure related to the recreation playing fields or spaces, and this contravenes Phase 1 requirements of the master plan. The planning board's recommendation, and I realize that you just heard about that, failed to consider economic factors of seeker, and seeker requires you to consider environmental, social, and economic factors. There were absolutely no financial details presented to the planning board that night when they recommended that this was consistent. For example, the master plan that in this resolution says is consistent says that the field house that's being proposed on the current plan is to cost $125,000. Yet I heard at one of the meetings that the cost of this field house has grown to $350,000 to $400,000, but nothing detailed has been turned over. I'm sorry to say that you don't have the financial details to weigh this part of seeker and determine with this resolution that it's consistent with page 20 of the master plan. And if you look at page 20, it outlines all of the cost estimates that this project should take. The planning board didn't have any cost estimates when it recommended that this project was consistent with what's on page 20. It would be impossible for you to pass this resolution without those numbers. In addition, the master plan says that Phase 1 slotted to cost $1.7 million. These, of course, are 2008 costs, and the temporary infrastructure that goes from the roadway to the field house, housing a bathroom, that's nearly 2.5 football fields away from the playground, isn't going to be outfitted with anything for the concession stand portion of the field house. So isn't that a social concern for you to consider? Why is there a field house 2.5 football fields away when there's no infrastructure for fields that is planned in Phase 1? Are you taking the necessary hard look? Is this really consistent? Likewise, at the planning board meeting, the engineer acknowledged that this infrastructure is going to be ripped up, that it's only temporary. And that part of the reason that they're proceeding with this is to ensure that the $100,000 block grant is secured. Are we throwing good money after bad? Are we balancing the economic scales on the seeker issue? In terms of recreation, the engineering punch list that you were provided, dated June 4th, it's inconsistent with the master plan's Phase 1 implementation strategy. Page 17, and again, this is what you were going to be voting on. Page 17 lists 10 recreational facility improvements, only one of which is part of Phase 1, the concession stand that's in the middle of the field with no fields planned to be built around it in Phase 1.
Were these items brought up at the hearing last week?
Some of them were.
Okay.
Uh,
We had so they are on record. I'll let you go on, but not for too long because we have a lot of business.
Okay.
And I appreciate, your comments.
I'll get to my, I'll get to my point. But Phase 1 of the project doesn't include one recreational facility improvement. No new soccer field, no Little League field, no bleachers, no stormwater facilities, drainage plan for new fields, no passive rec lawn area, no relocation of a basketball court, no upgrade to the pool entry and drop-off area. Instead, the punch list includes an entry road, a sign, access road, parking, building a stone wall, planting trees, installing electric, installing concrete, curbs, sidewalk ramps. Nothing associated with recreation, which was part of your seeker determination that this was a major point. Another really big seeker thing that doesn't have to do with recreation is groundwater. The determination of non-significance that you found in 2009 said, in the matter of groundwater quality and quantity, there will be neither surface or subsurface discharge of domestic sanitary sewage. As set forth in the EAF, it's the intent to serve the TTSM park by connecting to municipal sanitary sewage facilities. Did you know the site plan before the planning board is building its own septic? It's not connecting to municipal sanitary sewage? How could you possibly say that this is consistent? It's black and white. It says one thing, and you would be saying the complete opposite. In conclusion, I hope our government listens to its community. I hope you insist that the master plan be followed and vote no on this resolution. I hope that you look at the documents and you really take the hard look for social, economic, and environmental factors. In that instance alone, you would have to tell the committee to put Rhinebeck's needs first, and if you pass this, then you've put a different vision of what Rhinebeck needs first, and ignored all the studies that the taxpayer money paid for in analyzing the community's needs that created the master plan were taken into account, and when the master plan was adopted and the seeker determination made. I hope our community watches, listens, and watches what you do in the next couple of weeks, and that the community knows that the town board will likely have the last opportunity to comment on what I've said and to consider what I might say. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Linda. We have,
Tom, can I ask for her written notes on that? Can we,
Linda, can you provide your written notes to the clerk? All right.
and
I can email them.
I'd also like to request a copy of the petition.
I believe I told you it was in the
It's
planning board
not.
file.
It's not.
I gave the originals to the planning board.
I'd like a copy. Thank you.
So we'll pick this up. We have a meeting on the 8th. Is that soon enough to do
I'm
that?
sorry, say
October
what?
8th will be our second meeting of the month.
Yeah, we certainly
The
can try.
15th
We'll
is our
talk to-
next.
Oh, sorry, the 15th?
But Bruce, my understanding is that
15.
this is
Second-
just
that's the second
the
Monday.
first phase, that we're doing this in steps. And, I'm looking at the master plan, which says that there'll be at least 2 phases. To me, at least means there could be 3, 4, 5 phases. So at least I view, am I wrong in thinking this is just the first step and that $100,000 is nothing to sneeze at?
Yeah, you're right, but, let's let Warren look at it, or
Okay.
whoever it was, and
All right. All set. We're going to hold over till the 15th of October. That's Tuesday, the day after Columbus Day. So, moving on to item 6 is a resolution for the home rule letter for the Star Library.
motion.
Second.
Any discussion on that?
Just, I thought we were going to just run by a draft of that
Okay.
letter to Warren, just to make sure
So-
there's no issue.
So you want to hold this over to the 15th, or you want to?
Do we know if Steve submitted that? Is Steve here tonight?
Do you want to?
I don't know if he drafted a letter or we're supposed
He's not
to
here.
draft
Wait, you
a
mean
letter.
Steve?
I don't think we have
I
a,
thought he was going to send it to Warren.
a
No,
draft
he's-
letter.
He's Morton. You're talking about,
Oh, this is Star.
This
My
is-
my
this is
fault.
Star.
My bad, sorry.
I think, after talking with John, we think it's a pretty simple letter. We can draft the letter and show it to Warren, make sure he's comfortable with the concept. I think he will be, but, and at least the library is expecting that we are going to run it by our attorney.
okay, so we'll hold over to the 15th of October.
Who
Is
of us?
that our next
Who's-
meeting?
Who's writing the letter?
Yeah, who's sending it to Warren?
We need to write
Well,
it and then,
my discussion with John was that he can do a draft, let me look it over, and then we should give it to the library and Warren at the same time.
I think we should all look it over.
Fine?
Are you comfortable with that?
Is that-
I think you can approve it.
Sorry?
I think you can approve it now.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, do you want to see the letter first, before you approve it? Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's approving.
What they want to
drafting
do.
the letter in substantially the form that's attached, so. we can
Okay.
draft it
Exactly.
and sign it.
I say, well, let's just hold it over to the 15th. It doesn't
Yeah.
sound like we're clear on what the form is kind of bold that you have on the other letter, so.
That's
Well-
our next meeting?
It's
No, we're
the,
gonna-
yeah, this,
We're going to have this little meeting
Friday
to get
or
the
Thursday.
budget. If we have a draft, then maybe we can review it and send it on. There's no sense holding it if we have a draft in front of us.
If the library needs to take a vote on that, I think it behooves us to act on it as soon as we can.
I've
So
spoke-
maybe we should add that.
Gina, I've
Oh,
spoken
they
to-
don't? Okay, thanks, John.
Yeah, I've spoken to the head of the library. They're comfortable with.
Okay.
let me ask you, so you want to bring it up at the next meeting on Thursday, the next
Yeah,
Thursday?
why don't we put it on
So
for
we've got to put that on the
Thursday, yeah.
agenda for the announcement tomorrow,
Cool.
too, so we'll hold over. Look, we have two items in discussion. Historic preservation, are there people here for that, the committee, or no? Because
Well-
if they're not here, let's get the,
Yeah, I don't think they are. Briefly, I have to get together with.
all right, so let me
the
move
building.
on to public comment period, because I think we could, in the interest of not having everybody sit here all night long, we can move on for public comment. So at this point, I'll open the floor for somebody who would have public comment.
Good evening, my name is Kate Long. I'm a resident of the village at 86 Montgomery. Formerly, I was a resident of Rhinebeck at Maple Lane, out off Center Road for 10 years. I'm coming tonight as a representative.
Let me just make sure that, can you hear that? on
Can you
the-
guys hear? Oh, okay. Church. Yeah. Thank you. Great. So I'm here this evening as a representative of Save Rhinebeck Green Space. It's a broad coalition of residents of the village and the town, and people actually across the United States, who are very concerned about the proposed expansion of Northern Dutchess Hospital. We all believe it's important to expand the hospital. It's a service that is very important for our community. But we believe that their plans, which is decimating the front lawn. Oh, man, excellent. Yeah, you do. This is great. Is inappropriate for a village of our historic character and bucolic beauty. So I'll just show you just quickly. This is the site plan. Can you guys see that? This is Route 9, it's Montgomery Street. The plan calls for demolition of 49 trees. Oh, great. The plan calls for the demolition of 49 trees on the campus, the construction of a parking lot in the front of the hospital on Route 9, which is currently now a treed area, and then lighting this parking lot at night, which would be very comparable to Stop and Shop. So what now is a beautiful, quiet, bucolic part of the northern end of the village would basically be commercialized and turned into actually a pretty unattractive part of our village, which people find very important. This project has gone through the planning board, where it received, the village planning board, a negative declaration on the seeker. We believe that's inappropriate. The concerns of the community were not addressed, although the developer did state that, and it is an historic district in this area, and in 2004, the previous EAF had said the village requested that this lawn area be available for the use as community open space. They did identify that there's noise, significant noise that will arise from this, and traffic, substantial traffic will be added because of this development, which could lead to a traffic signal being located here at Montgomery and Route 9. So I just wanted to share with you, here's a petition of 440 signatures, and we've collected 50 more, but I didn't get a chance to print them.
So I got to ask you, so this is a matter in front of the Village Planning and Zoning Board and
Right.
possibly the Village Board, and why are you bringing that to the town board? I mean, that's my question, and
Right.
I don't know that you said that, why, but.
No, I hadn't, but what we'd encourage you to do is consider Article 78 action against the Village Planning Board to ask them to reconsider the seeker, open it up for public discussion, and undertake a complete environmental impact assessment for this project. There's concern, massive concern on the part of village and town residents. Unfortunately, the village never adopted the comprehensive plan, which you all spent a lot of time and money on. So there's unfortunately less zoning oversight here in the village than the town has. I also wanted to leave you just the small copies of the site plan. In a quick search online, under the seeker law, we have an example of the village of Pomona suing the town of Ramapo, of which it is adjoining, almost on the exact same basis as what we're seeing here. The court ruled that the village was able to challenge the town on the general municipal law and had standing. The court held that an adjoining municipality has the same interest as individual citizens in ensuring the town complies with procedural requirements of the law. And really, that's all we're asking, is that a complete assessment be done of this project and be open to public comment, because although there were a couple of public hearings held by the planning board, nobody had any of these site details available to understand the full impact of what was happening. I also have my comments here to the zoning board, which relate to the requirements of the law, and none of which Northern Dutchess Hospital meets the threshold of the law to get a zoning permit or a zoning variance. That was a lot of information very fast.
Kate, I have a question for you. Do you have any thought, like the lights at the Stop and Shop that you equated this to? They go off at a certain time of night, am I not, or at least lowered when the store closes. Would these do the same, or would they necessarily be on all the time since a hospital never
Right.
closes?
I mean, that would be a statement that the hospital would have to make. If they have cars parked there, I'm not sure exactly. I do live right here, and, looking out my front door, all those lights would be lit, either 24 hours or 20 hours or whatever, in a residential neighborhood, which seems a pretty substantial concern. That was a big shock to all of us when we saw that lighting plan.
I must compliment you on bringing this to the attention of the electorate. You've generated more people here than I've seen before. I I think the message has gotten to the village. I do see village officials here. My understanding is the current application has been withdrawn. And depending on what they come back with, there may have to be a whole new CEQA review. So that would give you an opportunity to...
Is that a withdrawal from the planning board or from the zoning board?
I don't know, Dodd. I don't know the finite details of it.
We know it was withdrawn from the zoning board for the 9-foot height variance. We haven't heard any further action other than that. I think they've been here, whether he wants to comment or not. I'll be happy to comment. Okay.
Thank you, Kate.
So are we all set, I guess? Any-
Could I
Yeah,
add a
sure.
couple of comments? Dodd Crane, village resident. I got involved with Kate on this issue about 3 weeks ago when we finally got the hard copy on what the plans really look like. And to reiterate what Kate said, we're not opposed to hospital expansion. We feel that they certainly need to do that to remain competitive with vertical integration occurring with doctors' offices who are doing services outside of the hospital arena. And the hospital is an economic engine that we need to maintain and grow within the village and the town. The concern we have is with that front lawn, and the current parking plan really takes away a half to 2/3 of that, depending on what plan you see. My concern is, from a global point of view, having voted with 2 other members of the board 4 years ago on the comp plan, that we worked so hard and so long, and if you go through the comp plan and the zoning, you'll see gateway and greenery and open space mentioned everywhere, to have sort of the crucial northern part of the village gateway torn up and get parking lots and lighting in, is very troublesome to me. And then when I looked at the neg deck on the seeker, I'm no attorney, but I think it's subject to at least questioning, and your legal counsel will have to tell you whether you have grounds to issue an Article 78. I think we've done quite a bit of research. We think there are other alternatives that can be done with parking on other parts of the property, probably with a larger parking garage that will require additional funding. But the hospital is running a significant profit. We think that's a good long-term investment. And we expect the hospital is going to, in discussions with them, and they've been very forthcoming with us and are in fact meeting with us tomorrow on the site, we think that they're looking at other services to do in the future, and that we'd like to see a long-term, one-time parking solution that keeps the gateway to the village the way it looks right now, balanced with Mrs. Howe's property on the south side and with the hospital on the north side, and put the parking solution elsewhere on the property. But also, so consistency with the comp plan and whatever your attorneys might tell you the problems are with the neg deck, I think they are there. Those are concerns. Also, everybody, the village and the town, I think, are both signatories to the Greenway Compact. And if we do things that are contrary to the open space emphasis in that, I think it subjects certainly the village and perhaps the town by inference from losing future funding that does come through that Greenway Compact, as I understand it. So those are my thoughts on the topic.
So just, I guess you're asking for Article 78 for us to initiate we are a town that actually represents a village too. Actually, I'm a village resident, so in turn, you're actually asking me to sue myself and for us to sue our own citizenry. So, it's hard to swallow that concept to get to where you want, especially since the people of Health Quest and the hospital are talking to you guys to better this.
It's completely legal for you to do that. You're a separate agency.
Oh, yeah.
Well, maybe your attorney will tell you can't do that, but I'm pretty confident you
I
can.
think it's something we could discuss with an attorney if we have an inclination to do so.
Right, but that's the reality, is we're asking to sue ourselves, basically, or at least the village government.
Are you worried about legal procedures or green space is the issue?
Well, true, I guess, but really, it sounds like your green space is being addressed currently. I mean, you're meeting with them, aren't you?
Not at all.
Okay. Well, I'll let you we'll go on with this. Go ahead.
But Dot, I think in your discussions, and I think it's great that you're having discussions with the hospital and developer, that they really have to know how much community opposition there is, as evidenced by the number of people here, and maybe you can work something out with them. I'm hopeful. I don't think anybody wants to embark on a project where there's going to be a large amount of community opposition, so
Hey, and Dot, you
hopefully
know,
they'll see the light.
I would comment that while it's not Northern Dutchess Hospital, it's HealthQuest, which is a major corporation which operates Northern Dutchess. And right now, Northern Dutchess is operating a profit, but HealthQuest has other operational sites that are not operating at a profit. So some of the funds that we'd like to see, for instance, spent on parking have to go to support other sites that have nothing to do with Rhinebeck. And that's their certainly right and prerogative as a major corporation. But our concern is with the town and the village of Rhinebeck, and we'd like to see that corporation address our concerns. And we're less interested in the revenue problems they might have elsewhere in their system. And while the corporation is technically a nonprofit organization, they in fact have a significant overage of revenue over expense, and we'd like to see them make the right choices with that, and we'd like to keep the pressure on from all interested agencies. And I think if you do decide to pursue an Article 78 in the neg deck, I think you're going to find a number of topics. We've just poked at a few of the things that are in that neg deck and in the materials the hospital provided so far, and we think there are areas of significant concern that need to be worked on as a community before that project proceeds. But the experts have to do that, and that's what SEEKR's all about. All we're asking is that SEEKR be done correctly and completely. We don't think it has been.
And you're bringing this message to the village also, I assume.
Sure. We're going to present the same petition to the planning board. We've already presented it to the zoning board.
And to the village board of...
The village board can't sue itself, but the town as a separate party can sue itself, at least as I understand.
Maybe they can reason with the planning board if this is something that can be reconsidered. I don't know.
You get into very complicated situations where if the planning board reverses itself, maybe HealthQuest would then sue the planning board for reversing itself. There are it's a complicated issue. It's not that simple to just say, let's go off in a corner and solve it with one or two people talking. I think that the public pressure has to come both from the public, when you've seen evidence of that in the petitions we presented, but also from official bodies that really do have us, I think, given the fact that we spent $1.2 million on a comp plan, that we have a significant interest in seeing that this area's open space be preserved.
Right.
Do we have an issue, Tom, are you employed by HealthQuest
Yeah, of course I am.
now? So if we had to act... No, wait, so you obviously would have to recuse yourself.
I wouldn't vote on anything that pertained to HealthQuest, sure. I would vote on something that might pertain to an Article 78. That's something that I've...
I just thought that's another issue that I think we have to address as a board.
Check with your attorney on that. I'm not sure you would be eligible to vote on that issue because it directly impacts your employer.
Absolutely. By the way, I've asked Warren to come to meet us for executive session for this also, so that is part of it. So I'm not going to let people line up and start talking.
I just want to say one thing, Tom, about the town. I live in the town, and, the assumption, I assume, is that this is a village issue, but it's a town issue as well. I live at the bottom down near Hoggs Bridge, where you know, and last year we had some quite significant flooding. And the water's rising higher and higher in that area, and that's a drainage area all the way down to Hoggs Bridge, and that's a wetlands area. And I spoke before to the hospital officials and the planning board in regard to this. It's just being overlooked completely in terms of drainage, water issues coming down into that area. The water got so high down there last year that a person had to have their electric meter removed in order to prevent a fire.
Okay.
So, those kinds of things affect the town.
I appreciate it. I do appreciate your comments. And
Right.
I know that these comments are brought up at the planning board meetings at the village. And the village planning board is who has the authority over these issues. And
Well, the
certainly-
oversight is the town as well. I mean, we have laws in the town to protect the whole total area, that the village is in the town.
Right, okay.
Right, so
right. Okay.
I think to overlook that is a big mistake
No,
on the
we're not
part of the
overlooking it,
town.
but it's heard by the appropriate authority, sure. I mean, Sure. Well, what I'm doing is actually conducting a town board meeting. It has nothing to do with voting on anything. Okay, well, actually, I have to run the board meeting, so, you know, I'm not recusing myself from that. Okay. So, Mr. Peng, you have the follow-up?
My name is David Ping, and I am the Senior Vice President for Strategic Planning and Business Development for HealthQuest. I'm also a Rhinebeck town resident. I live out at 272 Vly, and have been a town resident since for about 8 years now. And a couple of things, Dodd, want to just address a couple of things that Dodd mentioned.
Can you also talk to us?
I'm sorry.
No, both. It's a tough thing.
It's a tough room, in more ways than one tonight. How about if I do this? Let me move back here, and then it'll be a little easier maybe to address everybody. As Dodd mentioned, HealthQuest and the developer has met with Dodd and Kate and some other people last Monday, and we have another meeting with them tomorrow to discuss the parking and to discuss the issues related to that. To address Mr. Gulb, your point about what's been withdrawn, we did withdraw from the ZBA hearing. The reason we did that was because we were looking at how we could get the height variance down to below what the height variance was that was granted for the 2005 project that's built and constructed, the Rosendahl Pavilion that has the emergency department in it. So we're trying to get the height of that building down so that it is below the variance that was granted then. And so that's what we're attempting to do now.
That would then lead you not to need to go before the ZBA for a variance? Is that?
I don't know the answer to that question. I think that I don't know if we would still have to go before the ZBA or not, Dodd. Did they? Okay. So we're trying to get below that. The other thing that I want to, and I'm glad to hear both Dodd and Kate say that they are in support of what the hospital needs to do, and they're in support of the hospital expansion project and the recognition that we do provide a bit of an economic boost for the community. I want to spend a little time talking about some misconceptions, though, about the project. One of the things that is out there and is that we're cutting down trees, and we are. But we're also planting 78 trees, and that gets left out of every discussion that I've heard. We're planting 239 shrubs as a result of that. We're also retaining 22 of the significant trees along Route 9 and around Montgomery. So the spruce trees that are at the corner of Route 9 and Montgomery, those stay. Some of the spruce trees that are also along Route 9 stay. And when you look at the amount of green space that's going to be decimated, I believe was the term that was used, actually 70% of that green space stays. And when you look at the property, oops, I'm terribly sorry. When you look at the property, this is the view from Route 9, looking back to the hospital, that's still going to remain. I don't know. I don't think that's decimated. This is exactly what is going to remain. We have gone out, and Dodd, tomorrow you'll see it, because we've gone out to the site and we have lined out, and anybody's welcome to go by it, we've lined out on the site where the parking is going to be based on the plan that's there. 70% of the green space remains. And there is a white line there, or there's flags. I don't remember if it's white lines or flags, but go check it out tomorrow.
No comment.
Thank you, Mayor Reardon. Stakes and white lines are there so that you can go and see exactly where the parking is going to be, and you'll be able to see that this is the view that stays. Yes, it is. We haven't changed any of that.
Something's wrong somewhere.
Could you come because
Should she come to the mic?
if you talk from the audience, it won't go on the videotape that's being taken. If you
Joe, let's just continue with one person talking at a time, since he's got Mr. Penga's presentation here.
So again, those are the main things that I wanted to just point out, that there's some real misconceptions about what's going on with the project. And I hope that in explaining and showing how much of the green space is going to remain, and in talking about how many trees that we are planting and how many shrubs we are planting, we're also going to have a 5-foot wide sidewalk that's going to go along Route 9, along the length of our property to improve for public safety. And there'll also be a sidewalk that's going to be added along Montgomery Street along the length of our property as well, and it will meander through some of the trees and other plantings that we have in order to, again, improve public safety there as well. So, that is the project, and that's where we are right now. As I said, tomorrow we do have another meeting with Kate and with Dodd and with and I'm sorry, you were there and I forgot your name and I apologize.
What time are you meeting, David?
4:30 tomorrow, we're meeting at Northern Dutchess Hospital. And we're going to, yes, yes, ma'am.
How mature will the trees be that you're going to plant?
The trees that are being planted are I believe they are 3-inch diameter trees. So, thank you for your time this evening, and do stop by and see where the flags are tomorrow. And I've got copies of my comments.
Thank you, David.
For the town board. Right, I'm sorry. Yeah, wait, you gotta come up to the microphone. Okay.
While he's on his way up, somebody did ask about the lighting, and it is not going to be Stop and Shop lighting. The lighting is going to be 1-foot candle lighting. The lighting is going to be set up so that it is directed straight down, and the lighting engineers have worked to mitigate the impact of the light at night.
Yes, I'd just like to ask this gentleman, if I may, how many old-growth trees will you have to bring down? Would it be okay for him to answer that?
Do you want to answer that?
I believe that the number of trees that are coming down are 49 trees. And I don't know how many of those are old growth.
49.
I don't know how many of those are old growth, how many of those are newer trees. We are, as I said, retaining 22 of the what are considered to be significant trees on the property.
I'm sorry, you said 49 are coming down or 29?
49 are coming down.
Does the village have a tree ordinance? They do, right? Mayor?
Jim, I don't know if I can talk to you because I'm suing you pretty soon, I guess. I don't know if that works.
Good evening, Jim Reardon, Mayor of the Village of Rhinebeck. First thing I'd like to say is thank you for everybody for being here. What I'd like to say is it's sad you weren't all over at Village Hall participating in the process when we were working on it over there. You need to keep yourself informed, and if you want village information, all you need to do is subscribe to the village website, and you automatically get push notifications. We have been working with Northern Dutchess Hospital for over a year now to try and develop a plan. Okay? We follow every single public meeting requirement we have to, as far as publishing it in the newspapers, posting notices in Village Hall and other public locations, and we post it all on our website. Planning board meetings and agendas are available on the website. Planning board minutes are available on the website. Any village information you want is at your fingertips if you care to keep yourself informed. I saw the petition, and that's where I want to start my comments tonight. And I recognize that there's people here that are concerned about this project. And that's great that you're concerned about your community. However, the petition states, and this is all it states, is that there's a 9-foot request for a variance, 9-foot height request. That's an inaccurate figure. The request was from 35 feet to 42 feet. So the petition, in my mind, is invalid because it's not an accurate portrayal of what the request was. I'm not here to try and divide people. What I'm here is to try and bring people together. And when I see misinformation out there, I'm going to speak up and bring it to everybody's attention. I went through a battle with my own political party because they wanted to mount a campaign against two of my trustees who were from a different party. And they put misinformation out there, and I stood my ground. And I'm the type of person, I'll stand alone, but I'll stand for what's right. And what I see going on here is not a community coming together and trying to develop something. I see people taking sides and fighting, and in my mind, that is unacceptable. That's not the way we should be operating here. All right? So, go ahead. The boos, go ahead with them, all right? As I said, you people have not been in Village Hall. We had three public hearings regarding site plan review on this project, and there was a handful. Would you let me finish? I'm here to speak, okay? You can have your chance to speak when I'm done. We had 3 public hearings for site plan review, and there were neighbors from Montgomery Street area that were concerned, but a lot of you weren't there. Now, it's great that you're here tonight, but do not vilify people, such as the Village Planning Board, who have worked very, very hard, okay? This isn't over yet. These people that want to develop this project are not foolish people. They don't want the people in this community opposed to them and fighting with them. They're going back to the drawing board, and that's a positive. Everybody should be latching on to that. As far as the secret procedure, the Village Planning Board, contrary to what you folks may believe, and the Village Board, we're not a bunch of bumbling fools. We follow legal procedure to the law, just as we have to. Consult with the village attorney on all of these matters. All of the interested parties were notified. Nobody came back and weighed in telling the village that they had concerns about negative on this project. If this project becomes to the point where you folks want to put a legal challenge, you're here trying to mount a legal challenge with the board now, the town board had no standing in this project. They weren't one of the agencies that had to be notified. I verified this with the village attorney today. Public comments. Public, as I said, has all of the opportunity in the world to come over to Village Hall, to a village board meeting, and come to a village planning board meeting and comment whenever they want. Right now, you're talking about site plan review issues, which don't fall under the jurisdiction of these folks. That falls under the jurisdiction of the village planning board. So what I would say is, if you have concerns about the site plan, go to the proper venue. Site details are available. You go to the planning office, you can get any document you want associated with this project. They're on file in the planning office. As far as the site plan issues, as far as the lighting, as far as drainage, all of those things are part of the site plan approval, and engineers are consulted with. The planning board works very, very hard. I mean, I think we'll all agree we have a beautiful community, don't we? Over the years, we've had very smart, very diligent people that have been involved with our planning and zoning boards, and that's the way why this community is as special as it is. These people are not here to harm this community. If you have concerns, you bring your concerns to them. They will address them. There's also a little bit more information out there that this project is in the Gateway District. It is not in the Gateway District. It's in the residential district. So that's a clarification of terms. Does it lead into our village? Yes, but it is not in the Gateway District. I hear the talk tonight about parking and locating the parking somewhere else on the site. And I say to myself, that's kind of like a not in my backyard mentality. Where are you going to put it? Let's move it over on the other side and build a parking garage adjacent to Kramer Park. What do you think that neighborhood's going to say? Or let's tear down the old farmhouse down on Montgomery Street, and we'll build a parking garage on that lot. What do you think those people down there are going to say? This is a small, difficult parcel. We have to do the best we can with what's there. Do we want to ruin the character of our village? No. Northern Dutchess Hospital doesn't want to do that. The village board doesn't want to do that. The planning board doesn't do that. I would suggest we all get together and work together to figure this out. Thank you for your time.
Mayor, can I just ask you one question? Because we're, as the town board, we're working on trying to consider a tree ordinance. You, in the village, were prescient enough to have a tree zone, ordinance, or whatever that's called. How does this fit into your tree ordinance for the village?
The village board only has oversight of trees in the public right-of-way. When we put the tree ordinance into effect, we did not think it was our business to tell private property owners what they had a right to do on their private property. So we only take care of trees that we have the right of way for. So basically, that's a street tree. Again, think about this piece of property and think of the difficulty of trying to do this expansion so the hospital can stay successful. Am I saying it's a perfect plan? No, I'm not saying that, okay? But what I'm saying is that this project is worth looking at, and instead of people fighting about, people coming together and making it work. Thanks again.
Thank you, Mayor.
Just would like to add a comment. The minutes for the planning board for July and August, the central meetings to this process, have not been published on the village website as of last Saturday. So the idea that the public had information related to the specifics of the project is inaccurate. And that would be the central way that the public had been communicated with, and it wasn't executed. So I just want to make that correction.
Appreciate it. All right, we're going to have to consult with our, I guess if you guys will bring this up to executive session to talk to our attorney when he arrives after his Hyde Park meeting. So that's what we need guidance on. I guess that's what's being presented to us by the speakers. A question? For who?
The mayor.
Jim, you taking questions tonight?
It's brief.
Somebody, she wants to have a question. Okay, and I'm going to have to, I'm sorry. Let's bring it up to the, village meeting. When's your next meeting?
My question is,
When's your next meeting?
the village meeting?
When's your next meeting?
Is the village board going to open public discussion again on this issue? Because other people have looked at that parking analysis and have a different interpretation of it. And it's too complicated to go into now. But can we bring this issue up in front of the village planning board again? Because it's very important.
Northern Dutchess Hospital has withdrawn their variance request. They're going back to the table.
That's a zoning board issue.
Pull the plan from the zoning board. So at this point, they have a plan that the planning board has recommended to the zoning board. If they were to change that plan, that will require another public.
But the parking issue is a huge issue for people,
Absolutely,
almost
definitely.
500 people in this village. It's a huge issue. And I think that the planning board, before final approval is made, needs to consider that issue again and looking at that parking analysis from other people's point of view, not just from Kirchhoff's point of view.
Site plan is still under consideration.
We got the
Open
answer.
for public
I'm sorry,
discussion.
Madam, hey miss, sorry, that's enough. We're going to move on to discussion items. That would be the Historic Preservation Committee. Joe?
Well, I think we talked about this before. The next step is I have to speak to the village as to what they have and what their experience is, and then we can continue the discussion.
Right, thanks. Item 2 for discussion is scheduling budget workshops. So the board will receive the budget on Thursday, and we'll need to schedule some workshops after that to move on to a preliminary budget.
Will we schedule them on Thursday?
Yeah.
Want to schedule on Thursday?
Sorry?
We could do that, whatever you
Yeah,
want.
once we see the document.
See how much work we have to do.
Right.
If you guys want to do that on Thursday, it's fine.
Yes,
Yeah.
if everyone's amenable to it.
So next is a executive session. We have, Joel, go ahead. Joel Tyner would like to speak, our county legislature. They want to do it on Thursday.
On Thursday, when we see what we're dealing with.
Just very briefly, I just want to report on what's happening with the county legislature. I wanted to invite everybody on next Monday in this room. That's Monday, the 30th of September, having a meeting at 5:30, looking at the legacy of Lucille Pattison and some of the stuff that she had in county government that we don't have anymore. Just real briefly, I've never really lived in Rhinebeck, but I went to high school in Rhinebeck. And even if perhaps as a board you might not decide to act on the Article 78, I would ask that you consider as individuals to do the same thing that I did. And I signed on to the petition that Kate Long and Dodd Crane and Dorothy Crane have been circulating. I don't think anybody is against expansion of Northern Dutchess Hospital. I haven't heard, and I've been sort of working a little bit with these folks. if it has to expand, it has to be expand, but where there's a will, there's a way. There's got to be a way to make that hospital bigger, or for those medical offices to be done without 49 trees going down and without the lighting being like that. So hopefully where there's a will, there's a way. And even if you decide not to go with Article 78, you have a great deal of power and influence as elected officials, and I would ask that you strongly consider doing the same thing I did a few weeks ago and signing on to Kate's and Dodd's petition. If you go to the official county government website right now for Dutchess County, which is dutchessny.gov, there's an online county budget survey. For the second straight year in a row, County Executive Mark Molinaro, to his credit, I don't agree with him on everything, but if you go to the official county website right now, there is an online county budget survey. I've been pushing for this for 5 years. For this second year in a row, he's doing it. If you missed yesterday's Poughkeepsie Journal editorial, there's a $27 million county budget deficit. You folks have been justifiably perturbed at the cut, $40,000 or so in county sales tax revenue sharing, right? And there's all sorts of rumors circulating around about 21 Dutchess County Department of Public Works employees, perhaps, about to be laid off. The county sales tax is too high. The county property tax is too high. You know, a lot of things that we used to have under Lucille Pattison, the Human Rights Commission, the Office of Consumer Affairs, a mental health care system that hasn't been privatized to heck, we don't have anymore. And the things have been cut back to the bone. And so I just want people to consider there are some ways to save money. If yesterday's Poughkeepsie Journal editorial didn't wake everybody up, there are some ways to save money without budget cuts, layoffs, property tax hikes, and keeping the sales tax so high. The Dutchess County Democratic Women's Caucus just came out with this report. The Poughkeepsie Journal did a big piece on it. I really strongly urge you, whether you're a Democrat, whatever you are, go to that website. It's ddwc.org.
What, the jail report?
Yes, it echoes a lot of things I've been saying for like the last 10 years. ddwc.org. I really strongly urge you. I mean, one of the best ways to save money is to not build a new 150, $200 million jail.
Isn't our own county controller is against the jail?
And I brought this up before, I don't agree with him. He's for a $100 million jail expansion. He doesn't go along with everybody else in his party seems to be pushing 150, 170, 200 million. I'll give him some credit that he's willing to sort of fight the party power structure. But again, briefly, if you know the numbers, I know the numbers. I've talked, Mr. Trott, I know you worked for I don't know how many decades with the Sheriff's Office. The Dutchess County Criminal Justice Council, they themselves say there's about 60 women in the county jail, about 60 mentally ill in the county jail, and about 25 youth. And even the CJC says we should be doing something else with them. There's about 60, 70 state parole violators. Even the Poughkeepsie Journal on July 22nd said, National Institute of Correction, try halfway houses for them. These are people that are violated for just teeny tiny little infractions for $65 a day, as opposed to $220 a day. There's 165 people being housed out to Kingdom Come. Anyway, there's a lot of ways to save money, moving towards zero waste. We subsidize to the tune of about $5 million a year profitable companies paying their workers poverty wages. Westchester County pointed that out 7 years ago. There's a lot of ways we could save money that we're not. Mm-hmm. So the only other thing I was going to mention is there are maybe about 100 different cities, towns, villages, counties all across the state that have passed resolutions to ban fracking. You may not know this, I brought this up before, but Rhinebeck, believe it or not, there is Utica shale in Rhinebeck. I'm not going to stand here and lie to everybody that Chesapeake Bay is going to be here tomorrow setting up a fracking rig. But what I am telling you is that 2 years ago, the city of Buffalo Council unanimously passed a resolution saying, we want fracking banned in Buffalo. They don't have Marcellus shale in Buffalo. They have Utica shale in Buffalo. Rhinebeck has Utica shale. So does Hyde Park, so does Red Hook, so does Poughkeepsie.
We could also ban the
Fracking
byproducts
waste.
of fracking.
Right, and there are communities, so I would just ask you to do that. The other thing is, Drayton Grant, she told
Will
me.
you do it as a county legislature?
I've
Will you
tried.
do it
I've
as
tried.
a
I've
town?
tried everything. I've tried to get a county legislature resolution passed to ban fracking statewide, to ban fracking in the county. The Ulster County legislature unanimously voted a year or two ago to ban fracking. I've tried everything. It's not happening in county government right now. But you guys can really I hope you might be able to do that. We're having a meeting, we're having sort of a public teach-in about this issue, because all the watersheds are connected, this Saturday, the 28th at 2 p.m. at the Rhinecliff Dock. So you're all invited, this Saturday, the 28th, 2 p.m. at the Rhinecliff Dock. The only other thing is, there was a service for Drayton Grant at Burgert Hill a few months ago. Before she passed away, Drayton Grant buttonholed me right in front of the smoke shop in the middle of town. She's like, Joel, how come you're not talking about pesticide notification anymore? Because it was off the list of us. So October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We are voting on neighbor notification for pesticide application again in October. My mother's a breast cancer survivor. We are having a candlelight vigil right in the center of town, Tuesday, October 1st at 7 p.m. that evening. And we're trying to get that law passed in Dutchess County. John Gautier was there as the deputy clerk for the legislature. Been working on that for 10 years. 75% of people in New York State live in counties that have the 48 hours notice before the pesticides are sprayed. Thank you for your patience. I'm at 876-2488. See you later.
Thank you, Joel.
So we have some executive session matters, so a motion and second pertaining to legal matters.
Motion.
Second?
Any discussion, all in favor, aye?
Are we taking action?
Are we taking action tonight? No. It doesn't pertain to the Article 78 as I understand it, right?
Yeah, well,
What do you mean it doesn't, we could discuss it?
I don't know.
Well, we're not making an action on it.
I hope
I'm
not.
not
Well,
gonna-
we're going to refer this to our attorney. I don't know, is that taking action? I don't.
Well, no, we're not making a
don't
decision
do
to
that.
do it.
I put something on, I have to bring you guys up to date about a possible legal action.
All right.
But we're not taking,
Action.
I mean, these guys can go home.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
All right, all in favor, aye?
Aye.